Just this past weekend, we were at church and this kid came up to me and he said, you know, I'm a bigger kid and usually when I try on clothes that I think are my size, I feel bad about myself because I'm too big. But this was the first medium that I put on that felt right. One of the intentions of the brand is to, you know, design around a proportion of an individual that is closer to the build of the society. Really like, you know, that fine line of how can I feel comfortable in what I'm wearing? And I think that frees you up to just be who you are.
Thank you for having me here, man. Beautiful space, beautiful.
Finally made one of your lists, man. It's a celebration, bro.
No, you always on the list, but first time in the space. The space is gorgeous here.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
I came here, thought I was coming to do an interview and got a whole new wardrobe too. We're gonna have you on all the time. I get new clothes. I feel great.
Let's work it out. Let's work it out.
What do you think? What do you think of my fit?
It's the best I've seen you, bro.
You know what? And I feel the best I've felt in a long time.
Oh, that's the intention. I mean, that's what we try to do is like, how can our clothing make someone feel like the best version of themselves? You know what I mean? Like, let the clothing kind of become second to that, to their personality and to who their character. But that's the intention, you know, not to be too loud or, you know, effortless and elegant at the same time.
When you were growing up, were you always creative and working on things and building things?
Nah.
What were you doing?
I was an athlete. I mean, I played
Baseball player, right?
basketball in high school, then got to college and realized all the guards were 6'2" and 6'4". So then I went back playing baseball and played 4 years at Florida A&M. But I was an athlete.
And give me your timeline. So you graduate business school, you start party promoting right away?
Graduated business school in LA.
And it was like Matt Camp. Give me the whole thing.
Working retail for a little bit after that, trying to figure some
like
things
fashion,
out.
fashion retail?
Yeah, Dolce & Gabbana, Beverly Center. And maybe 6 months after grad school, I got a job with the Dodgers front office. So I was working as a front office executive for like 3 years. I was doing like corporate sponsorships and partnerships. And then I went to Chicago to head the marketing division of somewhat of a small sports agency. At the time, it was CSMG. And I was only there for a year. The agency fell apart.
Broke apart, yeah.
And then that's when I came back to LA. I was like, man, I don't want to work for anyone. And somehow started throwing parties, was able to bring a lot of skills and help Matt grow his off-the-field marketing business as well as styling him and helping him with his image. And it was through that I understood that I had a perspective on clothing.
A lot of people have a point of view. I think everyone has a point of view, right? Some people are afraid to share it. Some people are afraid to express it. Some people are unsure of it. Some people don't know. How did you find yours and then express it through your business?
I think it was as simple as back in the day going to Barney's and shopping and not finding what I was looking for. And realizing that the thing that I was looking for didn't exist. And so started making a few pieces here and there and looked up and I had a collection of pieces that I kind of made for myself personally that started to resemble a collection.
How'd you make those pieces? You just literally went?
Self-taught, like, you know, came downtown, figured out how to make a pattern, figured out where to buy fabrics.
Were you thinking about it at that moment as a business and a brand or just like some clothes that don't
No, I was
exist?
thinking of it as kind of purely kind of a solution to like what I wanted selfishly. And then my situation at home changed. I had a son and was getting engaged and I intentionally really wanted to do something that got me out of the nightlife, right? I wanted to do something that, you know, both my wife and my kids could respect. A lot of the guys coming to the clubs were streetwear brand owners and having a clothing line just really at that time felt like it was something I could do. Finished my first collection and campaign.
What year?
It's about 11 years ago.
Got it.
Somehow I had given some t-shirts to Virgil, who passed away not that long ago, and he got some T-shirts to Ye, and Ye called me, said, "Hey, can you be in Atlantic City tomorrow?"
Sounds like a classic Kanye.
Yeah, and I'm like up in Sacramento with my family. And he's like, "I want to see the collection." And so at that time, I just had samples and like a campaign film. And he's like, "Man, I could see all the thought that went into just this T-shirt." He's like, "What are you doing in 2 weeks?" I was like, "I'll be home working."
Working on my shit.
And he's like, "Well, do you want to come to Paris and work on this APC collab?" And that's how I started working with Ye. We started kind of on the APC collab that he had. I kind of helped him with that. And then from that, it transitioned to helping him with his personal style and then kind of running all of his merch and stuff for the Yeezus tour that was coming up. And then from there, the Adidas relationship and then working on Yeezy. So I'm trying to balance all that as I'm building Fear of God simultaneously.
Wow.
I'm trying to find how to separate.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I'm trying to find my voice and also give my voice to him.
Yeah.
Not even really knowing and being clear of exactly what I was saying. I still was on the fence that like clothing had enough purpose in it. You know, it just felt very superficial and pretentious. And it wasn't until I was like doing a devotion with my parents and we talked about clouds and darkness around the kingdom of God, and the fear of God, and how a fear of God is really being at peace with God. But if you don't know him, it could be like a real fear. And so it felt a little gangster, and it also felt purposeful. And it felt as if I could weave this message into these materialistic fabrics. It would be something strong enough to keep me engaged in this.
Totally.
Because I'm doing it for a different purpose, not knowing that it was really going to be my purpose.
In the early days of Fear of God, like as a Black man wanting to be in this space that you occupy, and I'll let you define it, but like fashion is a very, I don't even know how to describe it because I'm not in it, but it's definitely become more Black and brown people are into what, from the models to the designers. But at the beginning, early days of Fear of God, did you feel comfortable? Did you feel invited into those rooms and people were like,
No, and I still don't.
You still don't?
I still don't, but it doesn't change what I'm convicted of what my purpose is. You know, that's still why, you know, we don't show in Paris during fashion.
Why don't you?
Week. I just feel, and I could be wrong in my heart of hearts, that I'm not welcomed in that. You know what I mean? And I don't have a desire to fight you to make me feel welcome. I would rather do a show here in Los Angeles where I feel like much of our inspiration and our following is, and if those that are a part of that industry want to come and be a part of it, they're more than welcome. I'm more convicted of what it is I'm called to do than I am of having the ability to sell somebody on what I'm trying to do and get them to accept it and believe in it and invest in it. A lot of that also comes from growing up in sports and my dad being a big league baseball manager and watching him kind of go from manager of the year to like not being able to get an interview 2 or 3 years later, right? And I just really felt that in order for me to be in control of my own destiny, I need to be in control of all parts of my business.
Now, your dad was a manager.
Yep.
And what you just talked about, him being MLB manager of the year to not being able to get a job, did he talk to you about that? And like what he was feeling and dealing with?
No, I just lived it with him.
You lived it. And how did it make you feel? How old were you, by the way?
I was older. I had just graduated undergrad. So the majority of my life, my dad was like a minor league player and like a minor league coach, and we're kind of a tight check-to-check family, and my younger brother got to enjoy the fruits of Pops being a big league manager.
When he made it, yeah.
Yeah. So I was able to watch, you know, the faithfulness and watch him pull from Martin or Gandhi or Malcolm and understand how these men moved men and how could he use those same principles to move his team. And he was always pulling from beyond the baseball field to kind of inform how he ran things. And, I watched him operate with such a high level of integrity and such a way of, I'm gonna do things the way I feel convicted of versus playing the politics of the game and being friends with the right groups and the right men that could get him the right opportunities. He really believed in, the vision that God gave him. All that to say, I knew that I could find my way within fashion if I found my own perspective.
He must have been a dedicated, committed guy. I mean, I was an athlete. I played college basketball. And I always tell people the thing that sports, I didn't have a dad like you, was a big league manager, but it's interesting because the thing that sports gives you in life, to me, is this level of dedication and commitment. As you know this, like, you play college sports like I did, like, you have to be really fucking committed. It's every day, it's the same plays, it's the same coach yelling at you for doing the same fucking thing over and over and over. And one day you have a breakthrough and you're like, oh. So how have you taken that feeling of you being an athlete and also seeing your dad and brought it to your business, your brand, and what you do every day?
I think it's like perseverance, right? Especially baseball. It's 162 games
Oh gosh,
a year.
that commitment is, I was not a baseball player, is insane.
Yeah, it's 162 games. It's a grueling season. And you just have to be super convicted of what it is that you bring to the game that no one else does. Because that's all that's going to separate you.
And keep you there.
Exactly, and sustain you.
Because they're rotating people nonstop. Guys.
Yep. And so I just really learned how to kind of play my own game from watching my dad manage his own game and play his game. And competition that appears to be with others is really the competition with yourself. You're competing against yourself to be able to go, as you said, that extra inch where you have the breakthrough. It's yourself that stops you usually from getting to the next
100%.
level, not necessarily the players you're playing against.
The best brands really make you feel something. What is that emotion that you want people to feel or them to evoke when they interact or interface or wear or buy or look at Fear of God?
Yeah, I don't know what that emotion is, but I do want them to feel something. I'm designing from a place of, I want you to feel something when you come in contact with it. But in the same way, the clothing is somewhat quiet luxury.
Do you call it quiet luxury?
No, I don't like that term, but maybe humble chic or something.
Humble chic, I like that.
When I'm designing, I am thinking of these emotions that I've had, and does this give me this feeling?
Yes.
Can't really put that feeling into words, but it could be like, going to homecoming in late 90s at FAM, and
it's that time of year right now, by the way. It's a fun time of year. Exactly.
And the band plays a song that's you've only heard in the dorms at that time. It's before social media, and the crowd goes crazy and swinging back and forth, and that feeling that you know is the highest level of emotion.
For sure.
How do these sweats feel like that?
Evoke that feeling. I know exactly. I know that feeling very well.
I'm chasing these feelings that I can't necessarily put into words, more so than I'm chasing an aesthetic. What makes me somewhat successful in clothing is that in being a Black male, the way that you enter into society and the way that you're perceived has a large effect on what rooms you're allowed into.
Sure.
Or what is that conversation you have with the people that you interact with. And so I was always trying to present myself in a way that would just allow me to have a human conversation, not necessarily to like be too swaggy or.
When did you realize that was a thing?
I think you just feel that your whole life. Like, man, I need to like, I'm looked at this way. What tools do I have? What physical tools do I have to help someone, lose their preconceived notions of who I may be? And then as I started designing, it's not until halfway through the process where you're starting to really realize where and how you're able to pull these certain things from. I think we all get up and make a decision every day on what we want to put on.
Sure.
And I think I've just been able to look at that and understand the intention behind it, and how that's informing, what we do here and what we're designing here.
Building a team, building an amazing company, a company that is a brand that stands for something, that means something. But with growth, as Rakim once says, with constant elevation comes expansion. You're expanding the business. You have the main line. I think that's what you call it, but I call it fear of God. You have essentials, and then you have fear of God athletics coming. The team is expanding. You obviously recently brought in a CEO, so you can focus. Talk about the building of the team, and then kind of what was your reasoning for bringing in that CEO? So what were you trying to get off your table, or what did you want to focus on yourself?
I feel, again, I move in conviction. I feel convicted that strategically, I know where we need to go. Building and running an organization, I don't believe that that's one of the things that I'm called to do. And, I've approached everything that we're doing for the first 10 years as like creating this IP that has uncapped potential. And now that we've created this IP, there's a responsibility to the opportunity that requires a CEO, that requires a different level of stewardship. Where in the beginning it was all like Nipsey Hussle, all, doubling up every time and
all money
in every time just to build our brand. And now that the brand is built, there's a responsibility to sustain it. And I knew I needed some help.
At SpringHill, and for the brand, our tagline, our version of a tagline is make it till you make it. I hate that phrase, fake it till you make it. I think you should just make things and come up with things till you find your perspective. And you've clearly lived that. But what does that mean to you? Like,
I'd never heard that, and I love it.
Thank you.
It's just like, as soon as you're faking something, you're being the thing that you were never called to be. But if you're making it at that time, even without all of the nuanced understandings of that craft, you're immediately operating in the thing that you're going to become.
Exactly.
Right? And so, I've kind of lived by that, not knowing it was make it till you make it.
You were the definition of it. Literally, you're the definition of a maverick, and make it till you make it. And you keep making every day.
Yeah, and I think, again, it's like I'm more so chasing through the product and emotion, but also chasing this place of I'm at peace and being in purpose, what I feel I've been called to do with my life.
Jerry, thank you for doing this with me. Gotta have you on every episode. I got new clothes, I got new shoes.
You don't gotta have me on for that, man. We could just, we can make sure you're straight.
I am a fan. I love the brand. You're building a legacy, an amazing brand, and you're the definition of a maverick. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Gotta give you some flowers too, man. I just, I love what you've been able to build.
Thank you.
I love the friendships that you guys have been able to keep, and like it's the most rare thing in the world to find a group of people that grow with you, even though you're growing independently.
For sure.
But you're growing at the same level of capacity and greatness. And so, not just a circle, but
thank you, man.
You specifically, but
Means
it's
a lot.
definitely something to, that really inspires a lot of young creators and men that want to go out and do things on their own to kind of see you as an example and
Thank you,
everything
man.
you're doing. And the whole squad, I just think it's super amazing, man.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that.